Sure.
All right.
We are.
3, 2, 1.
Hello! Welcome to Cahoots Live. Don't laugh at me. This is how I do it all the time,
you
right?
pretty much yelled it, man.
I pretty much yell everything I ever say. That's like my one volume. You ever seen that Will Ferrell sketch with Pete Sampras where he's like, where he talks about having voice and modulation, and he's like, he only talks like this the entire time.
Yeah. I like, it reminds you of Steve Carell, too, and there's this character called the German that says nice things.
Oh.
It was a pleasure babysitting Kevin. You look beautiful today.
Oh my god.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Our guest today is Katie Wilken. Hello, Katie.
Hey.
So, well, let's just jump right into what you do. What is it that you do here in our local creative?
Bob, what are you doing,
Bob.
man?
I'm trying to mute it, but I tried.
It's good because I was trying to find words, so you gave me a second. Well, so,
Okay.
yeah, what do you do here locally in our creative scene?
Well, that's a loaded question because I feel
Everything,
like
right?
Yeah, like I do all the things, but I guess hands-on creative, I make jewelry. So I've made jewelry for, I think probably like 8-ish years. Actually, not jewelry for 8 years, but my creative endeavors started, I didn't know I was creative till I was like 28. So I'm 38 now. And I had no idea I was creative growing up. I was just like one of those things that happen. As soon as I was pregnant with my first son, I was like, I need to do something because we lived at Point Clark.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a license at that point because I was like a rebel that just didn't like renew my license. I lived in Australia. I lived in Australia and I didn't need it. Anyways, the discovery of creativity for me has like completely changed my life.
And what brought you to it, do you think?
I think, to be honest, and like the foundation of my message when, like, I'm an online entrepreneur, so my businesses are all run online.
So are we.
Yeah. Yeah, right? And so I do like, I used to have jewelry locally in stores and stuff, but that just became too much. I grew a bit too fast at one point.
Yeah.
But essentially, creativity for me came because I needed to heal.
No.
Like I had one of those childhoods where I had lots of traumatic events happen. So for me, it just became one of these things where I needed to be a different person for my children than I was years before. I led like one of those sort of destructive lifestyles for a long time.
Well, sorry.
I was gonna say, what was that moment? Like, did you have a moment where you decided, like, now I'm gonna pursue, creative endeavors, or like, what was that thing that switch?
The switch was like, just one day I remember being like, I need to learn something. Like I could feel it, like I was a bartender for lots of years and I traveled and I surfed and I lived like that rock and roll lifestyle for a long time. And, but I was just ready to learn something different. I can like still feel it in my fingertips, like that feeling of like, I know it was like a winter day and it just came to me. So now I know it was the universe, and like I'm such a big believer in the way the universe works. It works through us and things like that. So the universe was like, hey, like this is your time to like do stuff. So I just started off with like painting and photography, and I ended up like having stuff in Watercress Bistro. So everything that I've actually created has sold really well and easily.
Yeah.
Right?
It is such an unusual experience in art too, which is really nice. Like, it also is nice to hear that about the local community, that people have supported you too. A lot of times when you come to art late, people are like, oh, you're just dabbling. But then like that's ridiculous because you look at someone like Cormac McCarthy, who wrote his first novel or had his first novel published at like 40 something or 50 something. Like people can find art whenever they want.
I know.
But as soon as you said that, I'm like, man, so many people would just be like, oh, whatever. Like, sure, okay, you're having fun. You got kids now and you're doing that. But I think no matter when you find art, it doesn't matter what your story is or what your voice is. People should be embracing it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear that you have had that experience.
Yeah, it's been a really, really great experience. And so as I used creativity as a tool to like heal and go through counseling, and it's just brought me to being able to use my hands. Like I can feel literally when I haven't made stuff with my hands. And then there was like one day I remember when I started, I think it was my second son. So like as I've had more children, I've like really gone deeper with creativity. But I remember like saying to my husband, I'm making these paper flowers and I'm never going to stop. And so at one point, you know, it's just been a whole bunch of different ways of me creating. But yeah, it's brought me to where I am today and understanding like how healing creativity can be for women. I speak really easily to women. So because of what I've been through, I know that we are all more alike than we are different. And especially like when you align with the energy behind creativity, it's actually, I find like this porthole for like a whole different way of being.
Well, I saw that on your website, and I think it is a powerful tool for healing and for helping people who maybe have that trauma to like, because expression, it comes in so many forms, but in art and creativity, it's something so pure that you don't even almost know where it's coming from. It's a way to speak the things that you can't speak, almost. 100%. So as soon as I saw that, when I think I was on your website the other day, I think that's an amazing, like, it's an amazing mission to have, to especially for a lot of women who maybe don't have, like, the art community has not traditionally been as welcoming to women as it has been to men. Which it's nice to see that shifting, and it's really nice to see that your mission is to sort of help that too, because I come from a background of stand-up comedy, not a friendly environment for women, for a number of reasons. But some of the funniest people I know and some of the best comedians I know are women. So it's nice to know that other people are out there sort of doing the same thing that a lot of them are doing, which is just not listening to the rules, not listening to the establishment being like, you can't do it.
It's so true. It's like, you can do, I'm going to cry. I'm a crier. Oh my God. You can do anything you put your mind to. And I'm proof of that, because I was a completely different person with just, you know, different ways of being in the world. But when you discover something that lights you up.
Yeah.
It's really
so what
cool.
are some examples of, like, what are some real examples of how just changing your thoughts and going down this route had, like, how has that manifested in your life? What are some just real changes, real visible changes that you knew were a result of you just making that decision to go down this path kind of deal?
Well, the first one, if you're talking about like law of attraction kind of stuff, or
that kind of, well, yeah,
or like working with the universe.
Yeah.
Like, yes. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is my husband.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like writing in a journal, I'm done like with the dating scene. And at that point, I didn't know like how effective journaling is and actually like putting all of that out there. That was a long time ago. And like within 3 weeks, I met my husband, and we've been together for 10 years now. And it was like, that is like a firm example of it. But I don't know, I've been living, it's hard when you know what you know, right, already, but like living an example of just being able to create something and put it out there has just been an evolutionary process for me that has always I just come from the heart, you know, like I've learned to be vulnerable very easily. I'm not shy to share my experiences because, like I said, we are all more alike than we are different. And I find when you're actually vulnerable with people, that's where true connection happens.
And that's where art lives, is in those vulnerable moments. Like, the other stuff is like tchotchkes and sort of like hotel paintings. But like, not that there's anything wrong with that. If you do that, that's great. But like the real like art that we're all seeking, I think, is at that vulnerable point where you feel like something could go wrong or someone could judge you.
Yeah, but that is where people are super scared to live. That's where they're scared to take that step, and that's what I want to foster in women is like, it's okay, and like nothing really awesome happens inside your comfort zone. So I've just been really good at continually going outside of my comfort zone. like completely saying my whole story on stage in front of 100 people. That was scary. But when I said it and I said all the details, I literally felt like a different person walking off that stage, like cellular wise.
Well, you conquered the fear, right?
Yeah,
And then
right?
the next time you're faced with that, it gets less and less scary when you're forced to, or when you're facing decisions, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
No matter what that is, even if you want to start a creative business and you're scared because of all the what ifs, but if you actually just let yourself be within the creativity and just be and keep moving forward and just trust, that's where the magic happens. That's, the how is actually up to the universe, I believe. Yeah. Because it will continuously show you what you need to see, as long as you're ready to receive it and take the inspired action continuously.
Yeah, because it's more than just saying like, I really want to make all these changes, but I don't actually want to change my routine or anything about myself, right?
So when you're like, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, but fear, I think, plays a huge part in the creative process. It's not always a good part, but I think there is an element of that you need to sort of embrace as a creative person, is like the fear of what you're creating and facing that. Because even if it's just insecurity about like, is it good enough? I think it's part of what fuels the fire. Like without that fear, it sort of like, it doesn't have the same like explosive punch when you create.
Well, even if you're about to go do if I'm about to do a gig or something in
which
front of a big
both
group
are,
of people, which we're about to, it's those kind of butterflies that you get in your tummy is kind of is a good thing, because it sort of pushes you to perform better and be better, be on your A game, right? Yeah.
But if you're also looking at that as a universal standpoint too, like that is the energy of what is the creative, what is the universe coming through you, right?
So like when you are like, when you're creating, like, and actually I'll come at this from a different angle, because I don't want to sound like a man talking about feminism. Sometimes just sounds
you're mansplaining to me.
I'm mansplaining exactly. So I'm like, maybe we'll start from a different angle, make this a question instead of a statement, which I have a bad habit of statementing things.
No worries.
But like, because you're talking about like helping people be vulnerable, but I feel like it must be hard for a lot of women in a world where like you need to be seen as strong to be taken seriously sometimes as a woman, and like, even though like everyone's vulnerable, everyone should be able to be vulnerable, but like, is that like, how do you approach that with like, I don't even know how to really phrase it, but how do you approach that when people sort of expect you as a powerful woman and a forward-thinking woman to be strong? How do you approach that vulnerability without, and especially with men, like with us, like without people going like, oh, sweetie, or some sort of like demeaning thing that like, oh, you're painting flowers and that's so adorable or whatever, like how do you, like, does that get to you when
it doesn't get to me. It doesn't get to me because I'm so solid in what I know, and I embrace the feminine energy, because if you look at masculine and feminine energy, creativity is a feminine energy. So you guys are really great at tapping into your feminine energy. That doesn't mean you're not a man at all, but that like being able to articulate that to men easily, I stand within that because I can feel it viscerally through my body, that I know exactly what it is,
That's
Does
awesome.
That answer?
Yeah, I think
okay,
so.
Cool.
Well, and that's, I like, it's just such a foreign experience to me, because I don't know, like, people sort of applaud men for being vulnerable, and like, it's like, good for you, man. Like, you cried, good job. Like, you here's some points.
Do you think so? I don't think so.
I think a lot of times the art community at least will like applaud men for being sensitive and being forward thinking, whereas a lot of times for women, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there's sometimes like a blowback of like, quit complaining, or quit being so sensitive, or like at least that's my perception of it. I feel like a lot of times we get applauded for being forward thinking, whereas women will be like, stop trying to change things.
Yeah, there's this whole movement, I feel like, online, especially within the community that I choose to surround myself with online, is women breaking down those barriers, because I fully feel like you can be a strong woman and be sensitive. I feel like that is the gift that we actually give this world. And if you take a look around at the world the way it is today, it's been typically run by men. And I feel like there's this really big movement towards women embracing, like, that is what our whole planet needs.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Right?
Well, and I feel like a lot of us live in the internet echo chamber where, to me, it sounds like every man is a terrible person because they hate women, and every woman is so mad at every man. Whereas most people, if you talk to them one-on-one, we all agree that we all need to just be equal, like, and very happy, and like, and we all need to embrace both sides of,
And understanding the balances of what each of us bring to the picture.
Respecting. It's like
We need
it's respecting
men.
each other's differences instead of trying to make men and women the same. That should not be the goal, but to just value each other.
Yeah. It's just in the echo chamber online. A lot of times it feels like it's like one side wants one thing and one side wants the other, and like I've never had that experience in person with anyone.
Yeah.
Maybe a few very like angry people, but
It's very interesting.
People like to make things black or white and polarize, and it's like, put people in tidy boxes, and life's not really like that.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So have you been working with like any, like, with your friends? Like, do you have friends that you sit down and like do creative things with? Do you have like a community of your own that you like to do stuff with, like that you create with?
Physically, not at the moment. That's like on my passion list to do, is to bring workshops. I was actually just talking with some local entrepreneurs who have spaces where I fully believe that when women create side by side, like, I have this vision to do like a terrarium, like succulent terrarium, like workshop where not only would we be working with dirt and like working side by side, I would also like encourage them to like talk about their feelings and really get vulnerable and understand that it's like super safe and it's okay, and that actually that is a whole healing process to, whatever's going on, because we all have our shit.
Absolutely.
Excuse my language.
Oh,
we
no,
all have our.
okay.
I usually like to swear, but I'm like, no, I'm keeping it.
Yeah, we've slowly like weeded out ours, but shit, it falls just sort of
right
out every once in a while.
But yeah, so locally, I'd love to be able to facilitate that a bit more. That's on my to-do list. Like, I've got 3 boys at home in the summers, like, sort of crazy, but I'm always like, the ideas, right? Like, you guys know, as creative people, the ideas never effing stop.
Yeah.
And it's like harnessing the right ones and focusing on the red line that combines all of them together. So yeah.
Tom Waits had a great line about the way he writes songs. He said like, it's like he's got a butterfly net, and there's like you just gotta like, you're gonna catch something, but it's about like they're all flitting around. You can't necessarily grab the one you want all the time. It's like it's like trying to catch butterflies with a butterfly net. It's not like you don't just grab onto something and do it. It's like sometimes you don't get the right thing, and sometimes you feel like it's not quite within reach. And I think that really illustrates my experience with the creative process. It's like, I didn't quite get it.
But the right one will always come to you at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you get focused on the wrong thing.
Because creativity is not really about the result of catching the butterfly and being like, oh, I got it. It's just about you being in a field with the net, right? Like,
it's never a straight line.
Yeah.
And that's one thing like about entrepreneurship too. I find women get super stuck in like, it's got to be this way. It's not going to work if I don't do it this way. But if you actually just surrender to the hows of how it's all going to come into play, everything will come as long as you continue to take the action that you need to take.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always, we always kind of start these discussions with like, and what do you do? That kind of thing, and it's like
very American way of thinking.
Yeah, but I actually like that you never really gave a straight answer. Like, well, I am a jewelry maker. You never really said that. You sort of said, just talk about your creative journey, and I respect that, and I can relate to that too, because if somebody were to flip that question on me, I wouldn't necessily know what to say either. We're just
it's a hard question.
Yeah, or it gets like, longer every year too.
Yeah,
right?
Just trying to make the world
I don't
better,
have an elevator pitch. Like everyone's like, you gotta have your elevator pitch. You gotta know what you're gonna say the right time. I'm like, I don't know. Like when I talk about my work, it's just like I can literally right now feel the energy. Yeah. And it's like I just get excited and I can talk. all day about it.
Yeah. Well, and like it's nice. That's what this is for. Hopefully, people will reach out to you now, and if like in fact, how would people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, like I hang out on Facebook a lot, which would be Katie Wilken, my personal, or Katie Wilken intentional jewelry and I think holistic lifestyle coach. So that's also on Facebook. Katie Jane Wilken on Instagram. So yeah, you can pretty much find me.
And your
anywhere.
website is
KatieWilken.com. Okay. Yeah, like I love my website, but I love conversations. And so when I create jewelry for women, it's a custom base, right? So they'll see what I make and they'll contact me, and so I get to have a real relationship with who I'm creating something for. Like I said before, I've done like the retail stuff where I've done the wholesale accounts, and that ended up, it just didn't feel as personal as I would have liked it to feel. I like to get to know who I'm working with. So yeah, like if you want a piece made by me, then we get in touch with me. And
so how does that process go? Because I was reading about that on your website. Like, do you just sit down with someone and just ask them like what are you looking for, or do you just sort of feel out like I kind of get a feel for what this person's like? This is what I think they'll want. Like, how do you do that?
That's a great question. I have a questionnaire that like I sat down. You know, I work really intuitively. So I'm able to tap into their energies really easily, and just based on the questions and like conversations that we've had, I can tell sort of what they need. So a piece of jewelry that I create, in one essence, it's just a piece of jewelry, but when we put intention behind something, when a woman comes to me and is feeling really stuck in their life, when I create something for them, the energy and the intentions that I put behind the piece, like I work in a really great space in my home. I have essential oils going and really great music. So I put myself in a spot where what I'm creating actually travels through the piece. And a lot of times people tell me they can feel that when they get it and stuff like that. So I'm really intuitive and can tap into what they need. And yeah, it's really incredible hearing the feedback from the women that get pieces from me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right, well,
22 minutes.
Okay. Well, actually, I have one more question.
This hour has 22 minutes.
Yeah. It's a full television episode. That means we still have room for commercials, right? But I have one more question.
Okay.
You saying you work with music, like in the background. What is there like a type of music that you go to when you're being creative?
Right now it's India Irie.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
Dudes.
I don't have my notebook.
Oh my God. Okay, so you need to listen to her, India Irie. And I like a lot of chanting. I'm a yoga teacher as well, so I teach Kundalini yoga. Actually, I'm doing a free class on Monday. I don't know if this will be airing.
Oh, it's on right now.
Okay, so
Hi, everybody.
Hey. All right. Okay, cool. So I'm doing a free class tomorrow night, so like a full moon yoga class down at Station Beach, where the grass is, like by the park there. So if you guys want to join, that's cool too. So yeah, there's a lot of like chanting and some just cool vibes, yeah.
Nice.
But I also like to throw on AC/DC sometimes and like Red Hot Chili Peppers.
AC/DC's kind of chanting.
I know, like my youngest son loves AC/DC. He's a rocker through and through.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Also, a word from our sponsor. This show is sponsored by Pick Studio. That's where we are right now. There's guitars, there's lessons. Patrick, why don't you tell them a little bit about what you do here?
There's guitars, there's lessons.
I didn't get to ask you about you guys, which I love to do. So maybe next time.
That's how we'll do this ad. Ask Patrick a question about Pick Studio.
Yeah. So, what is your like creative jam, and why all this awesome stuff?
I was really inspired when I went to university in Hamilton. They have these art crawls once a month, and then they have these super crawls once a year. And it's just sort of like Hamilton wasn't doing so well economically, so they had all these empty storefronts on James Street. So just the whole thing was there are galleries all over the place, musicians and buskers playing all on the street, and it was just really good, creative energy, and that was a really inspiring period in my life. I was like, how can I sort of continue to do this but make money off of it, right? Yeah. So I can feed myself, but I can see a lot of value because this is bringing a lot of interesting people together, and we're making stuff. So it's like I'm always just trying to find ways of just building interesting shit with my homies.
So fun.
So yeah, so here we do music lessons, art lessons. We do have some yoga classes here. Dylan runs a comedy class. We are obviously doing this video. Anything that sort of falls under that umbrella of like, you know, creativity. Yeah. So kind of trying to walk people through the whole thing. Like if you're a little kid, it's like it's your dream to play guitar. Awesome, we'll teach you how to do that, and then we're gonna record you, and then we're gonna get the art class to design a record cover, and then I'm gonna book a gig for you. So we're gonna go out and perform in the community,
fun.
right?
Yeah.
And then it's just you could just kind of see it building, right?
That's so
and
cool.
Yeah, it's just trying to make the world better. Through art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our alternate sponsor,
Bob,
do you want to come in and be interviewed real quick? Good. GemWeb, web development. Bob Campbell. What's the website, Bob?
Gemweb.com.
Gemweb.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Cool. Katie, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I got all like quiet interview. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.